Welcome to ATZ CAD. I'm David Atkins. In the world of AutoCAD, there are two main methods you'll see people using when getting their drawings ready to print. The first way, the way that AutoCAD wants you to use, is to use a paper space layout. Using a viewport, you can crop areas, display the same area in multiple places, and easily set your scale. It's the Luffy of CAD because it's really friendly and it's super flexible. Then you have users who configure their sheets in model space, which initially seems easier to do, but can cause a lot of problems. By not separating your presentation from your design, it makes external references difficult, if not impossible. You need to scale their title blocks to fit around the project geometry, making it super hard for users to know what size it's supposed to be printed at. Last, you'll find yourself needing to redraw areas, which means that when a change inevitably occurs, you need to make changes in many places. It's the St. Charles of CAD because it's a piece of... Obviously, I have strong opinions about which method someone should use. This episode isn't a discussion about if you should use viewports. That answer is yes. Instead, the episode asks, are you doing it the right way? Based on what I see a lot of students and clients doing, the answer may be no. Find out after the title music. The old way of creating viewports in AutoCAD has been around for at least 30 years. The command has moved around, but the process has remained the same. Start the rectangular viewport command, click two opposing corners to place the viewport, activate the viewport by double-clicking inside of it, pan and zoom to center up the area you want to display, set the zoom level to a specific scale either by using the menu in the status bar or by going super old school and typing in a zoom factor manually. Leave a shout out in the comments if you still use this method. And finally, locking the viewport with the lock icon in the status bar or the like icon in the ribbon. It's not super hard. There are several steps to it, but once you do it a few dozen times, it quickly becomes second nature. I still recommend all AutoCAD users know this workflow, if for no other reason than this is the workflow you have to use if you're going to create a non-rectangular viewport. Or make a viewport circular. AutoCAD is a conservative program. It doesn't change core features very often. Over the 30 years that I've been using it, I can only count maybe a half dozen really major changes. The transition to Windows and then the ribbon interface, multileaders, annotative objects, the block palette, layer line weights, these used to be based on color, and the drawing compare tool. Maybe you have a few others in mind yourself. Feel free to leave a comment. But I'm not counting smaller items like the new way that trim works or break and point, or when they added the geometric center O-snap. These are more refinements than real changes to how a project is managed. I feel like the Insert View tool fits in with these other major AutoCAD changes. It's dramatically changed my workflow and how I teach. Let's cover the basics. To make a viewport using the Insert View tool, you start in the Layout tab where you want to place your viewport. Going to the Layout tab in the ribbon, you click on the Insert View command. AutoCAD will take you to model space and ask you to click two opposing corners. If you need to make a mistake, you keep choosing two corners until you're happy with the area that you need. Pressing Enter to accept your new area, you're taken back to the layout, and an outline of the area will show up. To change the size of the outline, you can right-click and change the scale. This will change the size of the outline, and you can keep changing it until you get a size that seems good. Then you click to place it. You end up with a fully cropped and locked viewport, set to the scale you asked for. Unless you weren't paying attention to the layer before you began, there are no more steps. It's still a normal viewport. You can adjust it like normal. If you need to refine the crop or need to change the scale, you can do so. You can copy and rotate it just like a normal viewport because it is a normal viewport. For most users, this is all you need to know. But if you're working on large projects with a ton of pages or managing a multi-discipline project, there's another step you can do. AutoCAD has had the ability to name areas of model space for several decades. When I find a user who doesn't know AutoCAD can do this, I ask them how they don't know. They give me all kinds of excuses like, I wasn't even born then. I of course tell them, that's not an excuse. You weren't born in the 50s, but you still know that Istanbul wasn't written by They Might Be Giants, but was a cover of a 1954 hit by the Four Lads, to which they then ask, Who are they might be giants and what's Istanbul? Irritated, I remind them it was even an episode of Tiny Toons.
Why did Constantinople get the works? That's nobody's business but the Turks.
And then they ask me what a Tiny Toon is, and I end up crying in the shower. To save an area of model space as a named view, go to Model Space and in the View tab, click New View. Here you can give the view a name. You can skip the other options here, as these options are mostly used to set up keyframes for 3D animated videos, and we aren't doing that in this video. Next, click this green button like we did with Insert View, and we'll select two opposite corners. Just like before, if we don't like what we get, like say your O-snaps got in the way, then you can choose two more corners over and over until you're happy. When you are, press Enter and finally click OK. If I do this for a couple of other areas in my drawing, then I can use these in several ways. The first way you can use it is by choosing the named view in the drop-down here in the ribbon. Selecting the view name will automatically make AutoCAD go to that area. You can also do this using the tags in the top left corner of your drawing area. You'll go to Custom Views to find your name areas. Naming an area also makes a snapshot of the layer state, meaning you can easily toggle different layer display modes using named views. If you ever need to change these layer states, you can make the layer changes that you want. Open up the View Manager, select the named view you want to update, and finally choose Update Layers to make a new snapshot. Using named model space areas can really make getting around a large model super quick. If you use this together with multi-model viewports, click the plus icon in the upper left to add multi-model viewports. Then you can use named areas to quickly see related work areas. I find this particularly useful for working with road alignments and vertical profiles. So how does this tie back into Insert View? Easy. Once you've named areas of model space, these named areas will show up as options in the Insert View command. Choose one of the named views, right-click to set the scale, and left-click to place the viewport. If you are working on multiple viewports of the same area, this makes creating consistent viewports almost idiot-proof. If you want to use the Insert View tool to place an unnamed viewport like we did earlier, you simply pick New View from the command, and it works like it did before. This really does make multidiscipline projects easier to work with. Most commercial bathrooms, for instance, will need a plumbing drawing, an electrical drawing, an HVAC drawing, a fire protection drawing, an interior finishes drawing, and of course a framing drawing. As a CAD manager, you can make these consistent by naming the area and asking your users to use that when creating their sheets. Easy for them, consistent for you. While AutoCAD has new features every year, really meaningful changes are less frequent. 2024 added the ability to sort your recent documents in the Start tab. And while I do personally like the new trim command, I was even happier to learn I can go back to the old version by choosing the mode option in the command line and going back to standard when I need to. Updates that actually change how I approach creating and editing drawings are much less common. Insert View has improved both how I work and made teaching much more straightforward. I think it's absolutely worth adding to your list of go-to tools. If you're using the Mac version of AutoCAD, I'm sorry. AutoCAD for Mac makes the Insert View tool hard to find. You can add it to the interface by following along with my video, adding the missing commands in AutoCAD for Mac. The part about viewports comes in around the 2-minute mark, but the rest of the video is also fire, son, so watch the whole thing, maybe twice. Someone needs to watch it. What new AutoCAD commands have you found useful? Leave a comment and tell us about it. I'm interested in seeing what you've decided earns a spot in your daily use. If you found this video helpful or just like one piece, then you should hit the like button. If you'd like to help this channel become the king of CAD channels, you can hit subscribe. You can become a member of the crew over at Patreon, and if you're interested in our classes in AutoCAD, Revit, Civil 3D, Inventor, Fusion 360, SketchUp, 3ds Max, or MicroStation, you can find out more at AtkinsTechConsulting.com. As always, I'm David, and happy cutting.